The Rangers may host the All-Star game this year, but how many of their players will be participating, and how many of them will be on vacation? We're going to break down all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into my first All-Star ballot and some pitchers who I think are definitely deserving of making the All-Star team on this Rangers squad, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, heading into this season, we all knew that the Rangers would be reigning champs, hosting the All-Star game with their manager Bruce Bochy intact, managing the American League All-Star game. But after last year, having 6 All-Stars, deservedly so, could have honestly had more, with how Leody Taveras and how Ezekiel Duran were playing at the time. But the Rangers only had 6 All-Stars. And, well, that was because they were doing well, and everything was going great. Everything was gravy for the Rangers at the All-Star break last year. This year so far, as voting opens, we're about maybe not even a week into voting, and things are not going great for your fighting Texas Rangers. They do not have a bounty of deserving All-Stars this year like I thought they would heading into the season. I thought they'd have 6 this year, maybe 5, maybe even 7 if things broke the right way, but I don't anticipate the Rangers having 5 or 6 or 7 All-Stars this year. I would be content with 3 or 4. If they get 5, that will be due to the generosity of the fans, but the offense is the only people you can vote for, and this offense has not been great to start this season, with some noted exceptions. So let's get down and look at the ballot. Who is on this ballot for your Rangers? Starting off with first base, there's a lot of worthy candidates. Nathaniel Lowe not having the best offensive season this year. I thought that this was going to be the year where this was one of the few things that Nathaniel Lowe hasn't done yet. He's got a Silver Slugger. Last year he got a Gold Glove. I thought, okay, well, this year is the All-Star year. Well, unless he goes on an absolute tear in the next, 3 weeks or so, which he did have a nice game on Wednesday, a multi-hit game with an RBI and with a walk as well. Unless he starts, just launching bombs left, right, and center, then I don't think that Nathaniel Lowe is going to start this All-Star game at home. There are plenty of good candidates this year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having a great year. Ryan Mountcastle of the Orioles is having a fantastic year. Josh Naylor and Vinny Pasquantino are both having solid seasons, and it's kind of funny seeing Spencer Torkelson on this list when he is in the minor leagues because the Detroit Tigers demoted him, and also seeing John Singleton at first base for the Astros, not Jose Abreu, who is having just a dreadful season. But of all these names, I think I have to go with Josh Naylor. He's leading first baseman in home runs. He has been one of the better first basemen offensively in all of at least the American League since the All-Star break last year. The dude has been absolutely crushing it. I love what he's doing for Cleveland. They have been a very, very good team, and he is a deserving All-Star. Now let's look at second base. We obviously have the Rangers with the reigning starting second baseman of the All-Star game last year, and it's been a solid season for Marcus Semien so far. Not great, not elite, not the top toppest of top tiers offensively, what he's been doing. But defensively, he has been just as good, if not better, than literally anybody else at the position. He has been incredibly durable, only taking that 1 day off, and he has looked much, much better ever since. Offensively, he's got 10 home runs so far this year, only 1 stolen base, but the OPS of 767 is 19% better than league average. His OPS plus is 119. Love Marcus Semien. I think he is absolutely deserving to start this All-Star game. He is the 8th highest in Baseball Reference WAR of American League position players, barring position. It doesn't matter the position. He is 8th best. There is no second baseman that is close to him. He is fantastic this year, and he definitely deserves to start the All-Star game. There are some other good second basemen this year. There's a guy down in Houston, Jose Altuve. Maybe you've heard of him. He's having a decent season, but nobody really is standing out all that much. Michael Massey's having a really great year for the Royals. And one thing that we forgot about all of this All-Star voting is what happens when the Kansas City Royals are good. They vote in droves. Remember how many guys that were not necessarily were just straight up not deserving guys that the Kansas City Royals fans voted in? Well, the Royals are doing well this year, and Michael Massey does lead this category in OPS. He's got 6 home runs and 23 RBIs, having a really, really good season for the Royals. Under the radar, he might end up getting a massive boost from those Royals fans, so Rangers fans are going to need to turn out in droves. Now, looking at third base, there's a lot of really, really good third basemen in the league this year in the American League. Rafael Devers is having a fantastic season, a 947 OPS with 13 bombs. Royce Lewis has been injured for most of this year, but when he has been on, he has been fantastic. He's got 3 home runs, a 571 average, a 25-24 OPS. But again, I believe he's played in 15 or 20-ish games, maybe. Not a whole lot of games. Jose Ramirez has been absolutely fantastic, as has Isaac Paredes. This is a loaded category. Jordan Westburg is also having a great year with the Baltimore Orioles, but I got to give my vote to Joshua Pookie Smith, who, by the way, is also top 10 in Baseball Reference WAR among American League position players. He's at 9th at 2.6, ahead of any of these third basemen. Defensively, offensively, he doesn't have the overwhelming numbers of power, but he has been so good for this Rangers team. 4 home runs for him on the year, 1 triple, 15 doubles, which leads the Rangers. Also a slash line of 290, 377, 440, and 818 OPS. He has just been so dang good for this Rangers squad. And like I said a month ago, if he kept this up, he would be a deserving All-Star, and I think that he is. I don't know that he's necessarily going to win it because Ramirez has been just absolutely incredible. I mean, there have been so many guys that have been so good at third base this year, and well, if Josh Young kept up what he was doing for the start of the year, which, by the way, he's still top 12, 11th in Baseball Reference WAR among Rangers players at 0.6, and he only played 4 games this year. Just absolutely bonkers how good he was in those 4 games. But yeah, Josh Smith has got to get my vote in this category. Now, another deep group, deep position in the American League is shortstop. As we all know, Corey Seager is one of the best hitters on the planet. But to start this year, he didn't have the best season, and it's going to be hard for him to start this All-Star game because there are so many other talented shortstops in this league, not just pretty talented, but guys who are having downright phenomenal MVP level seasons. It's really 2 guys that he's going to be competing with. It's Bobby Witt Jr., who has been absolutely incredible for the Kansas City Royals, and Gunnar Henderson, who has been downright phenomenal for the Orioles this year. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot of competition. Bo Bichette is really not having a great year. Jose Caballero is on this list. Carlos Correa is having a fine year, not anything great. Jeremy Pena is having a decent season. And Anthony Volpe is actually having a really good season for the Yankees. There are quite a few Yankees fans, so it might be difficult for Corey Seager to win this vote, especially with how Royals fans turn out in droves and how Baltimore Orioles fans turn out in droves for voting, and Yankees fans, there's just a bazillion of them, and will vote every Yankees player whether they're deserving or not. But Rangers fans need to show up in droves for Corey Seager. Hopefully he doesn't miss too much time with this left hamstring injury. He might need a day on Friday, but thankfully he is not going to miss extended time, at least what we see at this point. For the last month, he has been just the full Corey Seager version of himself, one of the best hitters in all of baseball. He definitely needs to keep that up and keep this hot streak up. Maybe another streak of 8 homers in 8 games would get him really close to what Gunnar Henderson is doing right now. Gunnar Henderson leads all American League shortstops with 19 home runs. Seager is at second with 13, ahead of Bobby Witt Jr., who has just been absolutely fantastic this year. Corey Seager is pretty fantastic too, but this is a very deep class. Coming up, we'll look at the rest of my ballot for American League and quickly run through the National League and some pitchers who the Rangers think, and I think, should be all-stars this year. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Policygenius. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. Policygenius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. Your work-life insurance may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. So Policygenius has no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. They have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. So get peace of mind by finding the right insurance with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. It's policygenius.com. Now, picking up where we left off, Rangers last year had the starting catcher for the American League All-Star Game, and this year, well, I don't think that's going to be the case. He was a deserving All-Star last year, but Jonah Heim this year has just not quite been as good as he was offensively last year, and also there's just been a lot of really good offensive catchers this year in the American League. You got to look at guys like Danny Jansen, guys like Ryan Jeffers up with the Twins. Shea Langoliers, we all know, is apparently not just a Rangers killer. He's got 12 home runs this year, which ties for the most among American League catchers with Adley Rutschman and also with Ryan Jeffers. All those guys have 12 home runs. We've also seen guys like Logan O'Hoppe have a pretty decent season, but really the top two who I think are going to be fighting this out, it's going to be Salvador Perez, who doesn't play as much catcher as he has in years past. He's played a little bit of first base, a little bit DH, but he is having a downright phenomenal offensive season, hitting .309, 10 home runs, 41 RBIs, and an .890 OPS. He has just been exceptional for the Royals this year. And also, as we all know, Adley Rutschman, the face of the Baltimore Orioles, a .307 average this year, 12 home runs, which is, again, tied for the lead among these AL catchers, an .835 OPS and 43 RBIs. Also, Connor Wong, quietly having a really, really good season for the Boston Red Sox. Just a deep, deep class, and nice to see Jonah Heim doing his best this year. A nice game on Wednesday, and I think he is really due for a hot streak. It was a rough month of May for him, but I definitely think it's something that he is going to come out of. Seeing him start a little bit slower this year because he was slow played through spring training. Usually he starts off really, really hot. We've seen that the last couple of years, but with this year, them slow playing him since he had such a long season last year, also had that wrist injury that took him out for quite a while last year and took a while to get back to full strength. He hasn't started off quite as hot this year. I think that a hot streak is definitely coming for him, but yeah, I think I would give my vote to Adley Rutschman. Now, looking at the outfield, there's a lot of choices here. And looking at some of the OPS numbers, the average numbers, and things like that, it's kind of making me feel a little bit better about the Rangers offense because there are just so many guys here that are just they just have such a low OPS, such a low average. Just offense being down across the league and kind of seeing it like this is I don't know, a little bit comforting. I don't think there's going to be a single Ranger in the outfield that is going to make the All-Star game, which is frustrating unless we see just a crazy hot streak from Adolis Garcia over the next few weeks, which, again, we know is entirely possible. And I think he's definitely got the charisma worthy of being an all-star. But the numbers this year, he's had an absolutely downright exceptional April. But since the month of May, it's just been really rough sledding for him. Evan Carter is not only having an underwhelming season, but also on the IL. And well, there's pretty much three guys that are just going to run away with this year. It's unfortunately two New York Yankees, in Aaron Judge and that guy Juan Soto. You may have heard of him. He's pretty good. They've been absolutely everything that that the Astros could have hoped for, and I think the third outfielder is unfortunately going to be Kyle Tucker. So it's going to be an all Astros and Yankees outfield, I think, this year, unless we see something very weird in the voting. I personally would still give two of my votes to those two Yankees, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who have been just downright phenomenal. I think Riley Green would definitely be a deserving candidate. He is fantastic defensively. He is, he's got a little bit of a swing and miss problem, but he still walks at a good rate, hits for power at a good rate. He's got a really overall pretty good offensive numbers. But again, those three guys in Tucker and Judge and Soto, they have just been unbelievably good this year, and I think those three are definitely going to be the ones who make the All-Star team. Mike Trout is still on this ballot, so maybe he will steal some votes away from them, even though we will not be seeing him at the All-Star game because he is injured. But still, those guys are just having downright exceptional seasons. And as for the DH, Josh Young is listed as Rangers DH, which is interesting, because I don't think he DH'd. He maybe DH'd once in his 4 games this season. But just seeing his name on the ballot makes me happy. I don't know if he's going to be back, but I think he should be back before the All-Star game. I don't know if he'll be back before voting ends. He's supposed to be back towards the end of June, and we'll see. He had such a phenomenal first 4 games of the season that he's going to get my vote mainly because of my own personal biases. But there's a lot of good DHs this year, including Kerry Carpenter of Detroit. Mitch Garver's not having the best season, had a really rough start. He's been pulling it out as of late. Obviously, you have Yordan Alvarez, who is having a down season by his standards, only an 842 OPS, which is not what you expect from him. Honestly, the best DH in the league so far this year has been Brent Rooker of the A's. 12 home runs and 898 OPS. He has been exceptional this year. The guy who leads this group in home runs is none other than Giancarlo Stanton, having a solid bounce back year after injuries have really ravaged him the last couple of years. That is a pretty good balance. So, a tough group. A really, really tough group to crack in for these Rangers. But I think they will have several pitchers that will end up making the All-Star game. I think Nathan Eovaldi is going to be a shoo-in. I think Kirby Yates is absolutely going to be a shoo-in. I think John Gray absolutely deserves a nod here. I really do, as does Michael Lorenzen. He deserves consideration. David Robinson, I think if you're squinting, then maybe he'll end up getting a nod. It's so weird to me that fans can't vote for pitchers. It doesn't make sense. I've literally never heard an explanation as for why fans can only vote for hitters in the All-Star game. And I feel like that's something that should probably change, now. And I just want to quickly go through my National League ballot. At first base, I have Freddie Freeman having a fantastic season. Second base, Ketel Marte, also fantastic season. I don't think it's particularly close there. Third base was a little harder for me, but I think Alec Boehm is just having such a great season. Not only offensively, but defensively. He stepped it up this year. I just had to give him my vote. As for shortstop, well, the obvious vote is for Mookie Betts, and he'll get plenty, but I want to see Ellie De La Cruz in the All-Star game. I love watching him play. He's been slumping a little bit as of late, but he is one of the premier talents, one of the most exciting players to watch, and that's what I want to see. in an All-Star game. Catcher, William Contreras has been downright fantastic for the Brewers this year. One of the best catchers, honestly, in all of baseball. I think it's between him, his brother, and Adley Rutschman who is the best catcher in baseball right now. As for the outfield, a couple of San Diego Padres and a former Ranger, Jurickson Profar, who, by the way, is absolutely crushing it with San Diego this year. Just phenomenal season. Hitting .323, 8 home runs for him, and .898 OPS. He's really been their best hitter in San Diego. He's part of the reason why their offense is stepped up this year. I mean, they missed him last year. They really did. And I love seeing Jurickson Profar just smiling all the time, happy, thriving, and thriving on the field as well. So happy for that kid. Also have Fernando Tatis Jr. in my All-Star ballot, having a solid season this year, second year in the outfield. Again, just the fact that he just stepped into right field and won a Platinum Glove his first year is so incredibly impressive to me. And Christian Yelich having a very nice bounce back year this year, hitting .309 with a .905 OPS. The man has been so good for the Brewers this year. And after he just looked straight up cooked the last couple of years, it was kind of worrisome. A guy who won an MVP, signed a big contract, and then just kind of fell off a cliff. That was not what you want to see from your stars in this league. So seeing a star regain his spark and start hitting yet again for a really, really good Brewers team, it's something that I really, really like. Oh, and at DH, it's this little-known guy you might not have heard about. I'm told that he pitches at other times, but he's also a hitter. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani. He's pretty good. He is definitely my all-star at DH in the National League. So I think this is going to be tough for the Rangers to get really crack in with almost any position players outside of second base. I think Marcus Semien should be a shoe-in there. Josh Smith definitely deserves it, but I think there's so many good third basemen that it's going to be tough for him to crack in there. And same with Corey Seager. He deserves it, but that slow first month might be what keeps him from making the all-star team this year. Coming up, we'll look a little bit at the minor leagues, about what's been going on there, and a pitcher who it might just be time to get excited about a Texas Rangers pitching prospect. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections, and you are locked in. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of PrizePicks community today. You just go and look at today's board. We got Michael Lorenzen, more or less than 5 pitcher strikeouts. I'm feeling a little bit more. We've also got, let's see, more or less than 4.5 hits allowed. I think I'm going to go more, 2.5 walks allowed, more or less. I'm feeling the more on that one. And Nathaniel Lowe, hitter strikeouts, 0.5 more or less. Yeah, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna go under. So that is how easy it is to get in on the PrizePicks option. You can also now win 100 times your money with baseball-only lineups on PrizePicks. If you submit a winning lineup featuring 4 Demon Squares, you'll cash in big time on the biggest moments of baseball's early season. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, I realize what I said heading into the break might be a little triggering for Rangers fans, saying, oh, it might be time to get excited about a Rangers pitching prospect. Most of you, your red flags went up and said, hell, oh no, absolutely not. It is never time to get excited about a Rangers pitching prospect. They all hurt me. They all hurt my feelings. And I am never going to get hurt again. And that's fair. Honestly, that's a fair reaction. After the last, 10 years, 20 years has been of following Rangers pitching prospect, there has not been a whole lot of reason to get excited. But there is one guy who I'm going ahead and letting myself get a little bit wrapped up in the hype of 5th round pick Alejandro Rosario. a starting pitcher drafted out of Miami Christian School, University of Miami, went to high school in Miami Christian School, and then went to the University of Miami and was not great there. Honestly, not great in college. A 6.47 ERA in 3 seasons and 200 innings. You think, okay, what are the Rangers doing drafting this guy whose numbers are just downright atrocious? And they said, well, don't you worry. We see something that we can fix. And normally the Rangers say that about a pitching prospect. You think, really? You sure you can fix that guy? Are you sure you can fix him? Well, so far this season, he's proved the Rangers right. The 22-year-old has been absolutely eating up down east and down east for the Down East Wood Ducks in the Carolina League at low A, a 1.44 ERA in 7 starts this season, 31 1/3 innings, 49 strikeouts, just 5 walks, just 2 homers, and a whip below 0.9. 0.862. He's got 14 strikeouts per 9 innings, just 1.5 walks per 9, and about half a homer per 9. Those are all the numbers that I absolutely love to see. He's doing it with some primo gas. He's also got a changeup and a slider. All those pitches are getting strikeouts. He has just been so freaking good in Down East. I have absolutely loved what I've seen from him so far this season. He also won the Pitcher of the Week award with his best start of the season, 6 innings of scoreless baseball, just 1 hit, 0 walks, 11 strikeouts. Oh, and by the way, he did it on 66 pitches to go 6 innings with 11 strikeouts and 1 hit. The guy has just been absolutely dealing so far this season. He has been absolutely everything the Rangers hoped he would be. He's about league average in terms of age, 22 years old at low A. I feel like he's going to be due for promotion at some point this season, but it's not just Rangers fans that are in on this guy. Baseball America is put him on their hot prospects of guys to watch. This is something real. This is something worth keeping an eye on. Now he's still quite a ways away. Still 22 years old at low A. We'll see what it looks like when he gets to high A and how quickly he progresses through the system this year. But this is 7 starts and 31 innings. It's not nothing. It is something to keep an eye on for sure, and an incredibly encouraging development because there haven't been a whole lot of those in the last few years when it comes to Rangers pitching prospects. But they also got good news on Joseph Montalvo, who with High A Hickory has been downright exceptional as well. He was named the Pitcher of the Month for the South Atlantic League. Also, Adonis Villavicencio. Probably a better way to pronounce that than the way I did it. But, congratulations to Adonis and Joseph, who were both named the Pitcher of the Month for their league. Adonis was named the Pitcher of the Month for the Arizona Complex League. Both those guys have been great so far. Montalvo is 22 years old. He is in high A. He had a 1.40 ERA in nearly 26 innings with 32 strikeouts to just 5 walks in 5 starts for that month. He was downright exceptional. Great to see him out there and shoving a guy who I kind of considered making the back end of my top 30 prospect list, but didn't quite make it on there. But just multiple pitching prospects winning Pitcher of the Month awards in their respective leagues. That's exciting. I'm a little surprised that Alejandro Rosario didn't win Pitcher of the Month for his respective league, but maybe there was someone else in there who was absolutely crushing it. And those things happen. The Rangers also revealed their minor league players of the month for their whole system. Player of the month is outfielder Yeremy Cabrera, who has been downright exceptional in the Arizona Complex League, an 18-year-old who slashed 341, 444, 750, and 1194 OPS. He also had 8 combined doubles and homers, 5 homers, 3 doubles, and 6 stolen bases in 14 games in the month of May. That is those are some fantastic numbers for the young Yeremy Cabrera. Looking down at the Arizona Complex League, there has been some decent production out there. A main guy that I'm keeping an eye on is, well, I'm going to be keeping quite an eye on Yeremy Cabrera because of winning this Player of the Month award. That is very, very exciting. This is his stateside debut. Last couple of years, he's played in the Dominican Summer League. He has spent 93 games there over the last couple of years and finally making it stateside this year. But seeing him play games as a 16-year-old was encouraging. Last year, he had a 1,004 OPS between Rangers, red, and blue teams in the Dominican Summer League. And this year, he has been just crushing it yet again. Nice to see a guy come stateside and absolutely light things on fire. Pablo Guerrero, the guy who the Rangers spent quite a bit of money on this year, their top signing of the international class, a guy who was, I believe, the number 3 prospect in that international class, a 17-year-old who's played 20 games in the Arizona Complex League. That doesn't happen all that often. Coming over at 17 and your first professional baseball is stateside. That doesn't happen a whole lot. He's hitting 275 with a 346 on base percentage, slugging at 391. Not a whole lot of power just yet, but again, he is only 17 years old. That is incredibly encouraging to see from the youngster who got a lot of rave reviews when the Rangers signed him and was projected as a guy who could really, really quickly fly through the system. So far, holding his own as a 17-year-old stateside ball, that is incredibly encouraging. I'd like to see a little bit more from the power department, but again, he is so young that it's not entirely unexpected that he's not showing all that much power early on. But again, playing in those 20 games, holding his own, having pretty good on-base numbers, having a pretty good batting average, and the power numbers aren't, terrible. They're not great, but they're not that bad, especially for a kid at just 17 at this high level. That is incredibly encouraging. Speaking of kids that are playing above their weight class, Sebastian Walcott over the last 28 days has been just on a roll. Again, assigned an incredibly difficult assignment at High A Hickory at just 18 years old. That doesn't happen a whole lot. And so far, he has been absolutely crushing it, especially over the last month. A really, really rough start to his Hickory career. Not only the couple of games that he played last year, but the first month of the season was just brutal for him. But still, he is leading the team in walks, and over the last 28 days, he is slashing 239, 386, 403, couple home runs, and 5 doubles for him over a 22-game stretch. That's 83 plate appearances. He has been doing really, really well. 15 walks to 21 strikeouts for a kid that is, I believe, about 800 years younger than the average player at his league. Not quite that much younger than the average player at his league, but still a really, really good season for him at such an advanced level. 4.3 years younger than the average position player. That's what Sebastian Walcott is right now. Seeing him do that at this level, really, really encouraging sign. Hopefully the Rangers will get more encouraging signs from these pitchers, from maybe even more pitchers as we move throughout the season. And who knows, maybe my All-Star ballot will look a little bit like what the actual All-Star team will be this year. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.